Hi, aloha, and welcome to Spiritually Wealthy. I wanted to talk to you today about Venus in retrograde because that's causing havoc for a lot of people. I keep getting a lot of text messages and people going, what in the world is happening right now? My life is sort of in chaos, or XYZ is happening. And a lot of times they don't realize what's happening as far as planetary stuff, which absolutely affects your chart and the energy that you're dealing with on a day-to-day scale. So that's going to be really important. Before I get into that, however, I wanted to remind you and invite you to my monthly meditation this month. Those have been extremely popular. I do a monthly meditation at the end of every single month. This one definitely coincides with this Venus in retrograde energy, and that is my soulmates meditation. That will be in a week. And if you hear this after the week is over, that's fine, because each one you can download and you can listen to at any point in time. So what this monthly meditation will consist of is it will have at least, it's been going way longer, at least a 30-minute talk. A lot of times it's 45 minutes. And I'm going to be talking about soulmates, twin flames, and twin souls, which are going to be really important. Then we will do a soulmate meditation, or one that I will talk to you about during this time that will surround love energy or connections and things of that nature. So that's going to be really cool. So if you want to make sure you get on the list or buy the meditation, then it will be on keystothespiritworld.com. You can find the link to, and or Empath University. Keys to the Spirit World's easy to find it. You just click a button and you can attend the class live, but you don't need to. And so I'll have a recording that you can then get into afterwards, which most people do. That's been extremely popular. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about was my High Vibe Tribe. This is new. And what this is it is part of a couple of different areas that I teach in. It's part of the meditation club, so to speak. I have a lot of people that do the monthly meditation classes every single month. So there's that. And there's also extra stuff to kind of keep your vibration high. The reason that I'm going to be doing this and the extra stuff is, and molding it with the meditation, is because I've also been doing a lot of health and healing work. I have that Hawaii retreat coming up on September 26th to the 30th. I've been doing a lot of single healing sessions, which have been absolutely mind-boggling. If you are struggling with any type of chronic illness or anxiety, oh my gosh, the results have been incredible for this kind of thing. You can find all that on spiritually-wealthy.com. Now, that being said, I want to combine the two, because I think that it's really important not to just heal past stuff, but it's also very important to keep on track with the current and future energy to really keep your vibration high. And a lot of people don't know how to do that. It's not something that you're taught typically. It's not something that you typically think about on a daily basis. So it's something that people have to learn. You have to learn how to keep your vibration at a higher level. The benefits to that, however, are fantastic, because it's covering, money, your intuition, relationships, it's your health and healing incredibly, a lot. So it's covering a lot of really important things in your life when you allow your vibration to stay at a higher frequency. But you also need to know what's kind of lowered your frequency if you're in a lower frequency state. That's also important. So with the High Vibe Tribe, I'm going to be talking or sending out texts of reminders and different things. But you will also be a part of the meditation club, where you will have monthly meditations, where we will have a live streaming class, and it's cheaper than going into to the individual meditation sessions. So you're saving a ton of money to do this. So it's something that you want to check out. Go to keystothespiritworld.com. And again, you'll have a link over there. Everything kind of bases out of there. If you get confused after this, well, where was the healing and where was the Hawaii retreat and where was this? Because I have a lot going on. Everything's kind of based out of keystothespiritworld.com, so you can find a lot there. Anyways, so let's talk more about what's going on with this Venus in retrograde. A lot of people will find that they can be affected by a retrograde and find that these times are a little bit more difficult, whether it be Venus in retrograde or Mercury in retrograde or whatever. I just want to point out, prior to us having this conversation or prior to me talking to you about it, that you can also go, some people can have the opposite effect. So for instance, I typically during Mercury retrograde, everybody's like, oh, don't start a business and don't do this. But literally every single business I've ever started, every class I've ever launched, anything that regarding money, I actually do well during Mercury retrograde. So it's good to know if these things are resonating with you on, oh, I'm having tough relationship dynamics or tough this or tough that, then you're one that would typically be affected in the, I don't like to say negative, because I don't think that retrogrades are all about negativity. But you're affected by the shifts and the change in a way that feels maybe a little uncomfortable, I guess I would say. If you're listening to this podcast and you're going, actually, everything's great right now. Like, I'm loving life and none of this is happening to me. That's also very good to know. Then you might be one that retrogrades, or Venus retrograde, you have the opposite effect, like I do with Mercury retrograde. But either way, it's good to know. It's good to know that where you kind of stand as far as your energy and planetary alignment and how that affects your birth chart in just life. It's good to know. So if you're in alignment with what I'm saying and you're like, oh yeah, that's me, then you're affected like most people with retrogrades. If you're like, oh, I'm not that person, I'm the opposite, then you have a very cool opposite effect. And again, it's good to know. So mostly one of the big things right now with Venus in retrograde, which by the way will last until the beginning of September, I think the 3rd or something like that, is love and dynamics, as far as love relationships, all kinds of relationships. I just thought of something I want to make sure that I tell you prior to getting into this very deeply. While Venus in retrograde just started on the calendar, I would say a couple days ago, when you're really sensitive, you can feel and notice things coming a week to 2 weeks prior to a retrograde or something. So a lot of you may have noticed that, oh, definitely I felt or seen a shift a week to 2 weeks ago. Okay, so that's also very common to keep in mind. Okay, and then it's also common to keep in mind that it can have the after effects as well. So when it ends at the beginning of September, you might find it lingers and lasts a little bit longer, maybe like 5 more days or something. Okay, so what's happening with relationships? A lot of people are going to find their relationships dynamic shifting. It could be a love relationship dynamic. It could be a family relationship dynamic, a friend relationship dynamic. It can be any relationship dynamic. But a lot of them, when Venus goes into retrograde, prompts a shift and a change. This one, I don't even know kind of astrologically, so I'm not going to even try to make something up, because I just don't usually make something up. But I do know that this one I can feel energetically, as far as the energy goes. This is a heavy one. So this is going to be one that you're going to be noticing possibly major shifts, where relationships might be ending, where people might be getting divorced. People also might be arguing or fighting over taking things to the next level, trying to figure out where they're going to go in their relationship. They might be getting more serious about where they're going in their relationship. And if you're in a relationship, like a committed relationship, you might find that you might be arguing more. You might be having to set different boundaries. You might be questioning, like, I don't like the way that this is going, so we may need to shift things. Or something outside of your control might happen to cause a shift in the dynamic. So that can also be. This is not always about like, hey, your relationship, all of a sudden you're just going to have an argument that's going to prompt something, or like, one of you is going to check out and one of you is going to be like aggressive. It doesn't mean always that. When this happens, there can be external dynamics that shift the relationship dynamic for you, when you were like, I didn't have anything to do with that, and now all of a sudden I'm feeling the shift in my dynamic and I don't like this. It could be anywhere from other people's decisions to other people's health to just circumstance that shift your personal relationships or interpersonal relationships. That is really heavily in the air right now. And this seems to be energetically one that it's not like one that happens every 6 months. It's one energetically, these dynamics are things that have been happening like, every several years. And so that's why this one's kind of a highlight, I feel like, for people, and should be something that they're just really aware of, is because it's more of an unusually heightened dynamic shift, if you will. Now, weirdly enough, the Venus in retrograde also affects a few other things. It affects finances. It affects your self-esteem. And it can affect like a beauty aspect in that regard, and then past relationships. And we're going to talk about each one of those fairly quickly. But it doesn't just typically affect just your relationship dynamic. Finances. This is a time that you may find, again, you're having to restructure finances. You may feel like that you're a little bit like set back as far as finances go, that you might have some unexpected bills that come up that maybe you hadn't planned for. It's weird, but it does tend to correlate with financial situations where restructuring is required. This retrograde has a lot to do with restructuring things, dynamics in your life. Okay, so with that, we'll talk about also, because finances kind of go on its own. So then we're going to talk a little bit about the self-esteem aspect as well, because I feel like that kind of falls into I feel like it falls into every category. I don't really know why finances fall in that, but it just does. So self-esteem might be something that could be coming up for you right now. You might find that maybe you, or maybe other people that you're in a relationship dynamic with, might be feeling insecure, might be feeling not as confident as normal, might be feeling just, not like your best self, not like I'm really rocking it right now, So that also kind of rolls into the beauty and the image part, because Venus is about beauty and image and love, right? That's what Venus is all about. So it makes sense that is also what's being affected. So you might find that you need to, or you're feeling the need to, or you're craving to change your appearance, maybe buy a new wardrobe, buy new clothes, get your hair done completely different, shift how you look. You maybe work out more, maybe not work out at all. I don't know. But it's the time where you're going to find that self-esteem, your self-confidence, and the beauty aspect of who you are may need to change and shift. You might need to add routines. And truthfully, I'd look at it more like this. If you are one of the people who are feeling like you're kind of normally, I guess I would say like higher vibe as far as self-esteem goes in that, and then you're finding yourself kind of second guessing yourself or looking in your mirror going, I'm not really loving this. It's a good time to make shifts for the positive. If you already started making shifts for the positive as far as your weight goes, your beauty goes, how you look, just your self-confidence, then you probably noticed or felt this coming prior to now. You were probably a lot more tuned in to this Venus energy prior to now, and you're just ahead of the game. So that's pretty amazing. The other thing that you will want to be aware of is past relationships, people coming in from your past. The dynamics of having someone come in from your past, or you having to rework your relationship with somebody from your past, is very high right now. So that's another thing that you might find. There's people coming in that you haven't talked to in a really long time, or something might come up as far as you having to, maybe you see something, maybe you see someone, maybe somebody asks you about them, maybe you find a letter, maybe you find a note, maybe you reconnect somehow. Maybe there's some not so pleasant things happening with somebody from your past, or maybe there is pleasant things. Remember, depending on which side of the scale that you land on, are you like pro retrograde or not pro retrograde? Are you like where you land, So that is also something that may have to be revisited and resolved at some point, and or just again shifting dynamics, right? This whole energy with a Venus retrograde is about shifting the dynamics. Okay, so reworking what your current relationship with a loved one, finances, your self-esteem, your self-confidence, someone in your past kind of went out of order there, and how you're feeling about like how you feel, beautifully, or how handsome you feel, or if you're having low self-esteem. It's about adjusting the dynamics that link to those 5 things in your life. So that is really, really important to know, I think, because a lot of times when it comes to a retrograde or an energy wave or something like that nature, we can find ourselves really struggling in those areas and going, why is this happening right now? Why am I struggling with this relationship dynamic? Why do my finances seem fine and now I'm kind of struggling trying to restructure that? Why am I always so confident and then all of a sudden I'm feeling not so confident and like I just don't work out enough? Like you're going to find, like, you can get the drift here. There are a lot of things that can come up that feel like it's just you personally experiencing this. And when it feels like it's just you personally experiencing this, it can feel like more weight. It can feel like more like something's wrong, that you need to fix or you need to work on, or you're struggling through this on your own. And I think it feels more uncomfortable when you're not understanding how the energy works. I feel like when you understand that the universe is going, okay, here's your opportunity to fix this or shift this, because this is something you've been putting off, because that's really what's happening right now. In the areas that we've been talking about, you most likely have been putting off working on your relationship, seeing your relationship a certain way. Again, it's not necessarily with just one person, and it doesn't have to necessarily be your person, your spouse or your boyfriend, girlfriend. It could be a mother relationship, a father relationship, sibling, friendship, whatever. But most likely, any of the things that we've talked about have come to a head because you've taken too long to address an issue in that area. And the universe is going, you know what? you're dragging your feet. So how about you not drag your feet no more? And I'm going to give you a little bit of a shove. And you're like, whoa, I don't want to go there. And they're like, I don't care so much. You do it anyways, because that's what needs to be handled. And so it can feel really, really uncomfortable. So finances, if you put anything off on working that dynamic, as far as your appearance and your self-esteem goes, how have you been dealing with that? Have you put off, are you wearing the same clothes you've worn for 10 years and it's starting to make you feel like you don't look your best? Like, are you noticing that something or someone is starting to making you feel, or maybe it's yourself, you haven't been working out enough, you haven't been eating clean enough, you haven't been, you know all the things, and or past feelings about a relationship or a past dynamic. So it's been put off too long, and now you're forced to resolve it or rework it. And we don't like it when we're forced. The universe don't care, because we're stubborn people, and we would continue to not do things and to avoid things because that just feels easiest. Let's not do that. I don't want to do that now. Let's put that off, and I'm already stressed out enough. I don't want to deal with this over here, and I have to make dinner, pick up the kids, whatever. We're classic avoiders when it comes to shifting things of this nature. So we get a shove. We are not allowed to do that for a really long time. And that's when it's like, this is uncomfortable. So there you go. So hopefully you found this helpful. I just want to remind you about the High Vibe Tribe because, again, I've been doing a lot of healing work. We have that healing spiritual retreat coming up, and the results have been so incredible. If you're struggling with anxiety or chronic illness, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, things like that, which I will be doing more podcasts on, because I'm really going to be educating you on how your body's gotten a certain way, and how you're feeling a certain way, because that is important when we want to be spiritually wealthy. Being spiritually wealthy means keeping a high vibration, which means we need to see things differently. We need to work with energy differently. If you're not feeling well, if things are not going well for you, something has to change. You need to do something differently. And that's not always easy to figure out on your own. So that's where the health and healing stuff comes in that I've been doing. But also, if you're feeling pretty good, you're not having the chronic stuff, and or if you are, that's where the meditation club has been really incredible, which is part of the High Vibe Tribe. Now, you can either do the meditations monthly if you go to keysofthespiritworld.com, or you can become a part of the High Vibe Tribe, which you will just get them every single month. And you'll have access to all the past ones, which right now the past ones that are on there are just excellent. They're so good. So you'll be happy that you got them. But then we'll keep you up to date on what's kind of going on energetically, what we need to work on. And with that comes that class, which you'll have access to me on. So you can go to spiritually-wealthy.com if you're into the health and healing part and you really want to get your frequency adjusted or lined out, or you're just curious about how that works, and so that's a good area to go. Or if you're just wanting to be part of the High Vibe Tribe, go to keysofthespiritworld.com. Do not forget to subscribe, like, comment, all of those things, because I have a lot of podcasts coming up to keep you spiritually wealthy, to keep your vibration high, your spiritual health and well-being at the most optimal level. If that's what you're into right now, you definitely want to like and subscribe, because I will have many podcasts coming up. And I know I've been MIA for a little bit, but I literally have like 7 or 8 of them done and ready to go and come your way. But I wanted to get you this one first because it's really pertaining to what's going on right now. Okay, and so if you have any questions, you can always feel free to email me, Jennifer@keysofthespiritworld.com. Like, subscribe, comment. I will talk to you within the next week here, and have the most amazing day. Aloha. Bye.